सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Arvind Kejriwal has been in news all day and painting on all our TV screens and will continue to do so likely as you are watching this episode of Cut the Clutter as well, because this kind of news making lasts for some time. Why has he hit this kind of headlines? Because he came up with these really creative ideas. You know what? There is joblessness, there is an economic decline, there are many economic challenges. So in these economic challenges, while the British may be stupid enough to do things like change prime ministers, they've changed a couple in the last few weeks, we on the other hand have so many gods. So we can pull out gods in our support and now start printing currency notes with gods of wealth, that is Lakshmi ji and Ganesh ji. So leave it to gods. Gods will then sort out all your problems. Now, first of all, my facetious comment on that is our gods are neither non-meritocratic nor underemployed. And I say this with care because gods are meritocratic, otherwise they won't be gods. So gods reward us or punish us depending on what our karma is, what we do. Gods don't reward us just because we put their pictures on our currency notes or our walls or wherever. But that comment apart, let me come back to what is central to my syllabus, which is politics. What kind of political messaging is this? Now, you might have 2 days of discussion. Is this Hindutva politics, ultra-Hindutva politics? What does it mean? Is it a good idea? Is it a stupid idea? Does it make economic sense? Does it make religious sense? All of that doesn't matter. What matters is, does it make political sense? Because what matters is politics. This is heavy political season now. You may turn around and ask me, so come on, when is it not heavy political season in India? But in India, particularly now. Now we might think that the next general election is a little over a year and a half away, but the fact is that between now and then, there'll be a lot of Indian states going for the polls. So Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh just next month. Then you have Karnataka in March, April next year. After that, you have Tripura, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Mizoram. Then at some point, J&K has to have its election. J&K means J&K, Jammu and Kashmir, not Ladakh. I suppose that will remain in Union Territory, but J&K will have an election, after which it moves towards statehood. And then towards the end of next year, there will be the big elections of Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana. So between now and the summer of 2024, there will be no respite. This is the beginning of a full-fledged, full-time political season, and that's why you're going to be seeing the Prime Minister also campaigning all the time, sometimes even changing 3 costumes in 4 hours, as we saw him do in Uttarakhand just the other day, because each costume is a kind of messaging to one set of his electorate. So when he is doing it, all the others are doing it. In this process, Kejriwal, because he has to now fight elections in Himachal, and more importantly in Gujarat. Now Himachal has very little Muslim vote, if at all. Gujarat has some Muslim vote, maybe 8-9%. But again, for Kejriwal to do well there, he has now decided that he has to be on the Hindu side and hope that Muslims may be disappointed with him for not speaking up for them. But it's unlikely that the Muslims will go for their default choice, which is voting for anybody who they see as having the best chance of defeating the BJP. So if they seem to be ahead of the Congress in Gujarat, they will get the Muslim vote anyway. So he can then say more to keep the Hindus on his side. So he has gone in that direction. What he's doing is he's not out of his mind. You can disagree with his politics. We can go red in our faces writing editorials about his politics. But this is real politics. It's a political choice. You like it, you don't like it, you reject it, you accept it. Voters may reject it, accept it. Voters may laugh at it. Voters may appreciate it. We don't know. That we'll do later. But he's made a political choice. Now, what has happened to Indian politics in the last 3 years? In the summer of 2019, Narendra Modi came back with an even larger majority than before. So he came with a little over 300 seats in parliament. Now see what happens. When parliament meets after that, initially you find opposition parties are pushing back at him on the key issues. What are the key issues in politics? In any politics, key issue has to be ideology, has to be your worldview, left or right. In Britain now, Labour and Conservatives. In America, Republicans and Democrats. One is left, one is right, and you know their set ideologies and positions. So the battles are ideological. In India also so far, Congress on one side, BJP on the other. Then it became secular forces on one side, or as they define themselves, or let's say self-styled secular forces on one side. And I say self-styled only for alliances built purely on the argument they are all secular, irrespective of what differences they have. Them on one side and BJP on the other, BJP and its allies on the other. Now that has changed, as we know, some of BJP's allies have left, Shiv Sena and Akali Dal, which I used to call the BJP's essential allies. But until 2019, the binary in Indian politics was Hindutva and secular. After 2019, it looks as if India's opposition parties or so-called secular parties have been very confused since then. They've been very confused because they've been so beaten, so defeated, not once but twice, and they continue to get defeated in many states, etc., that they've now figured they cannot be seen to be anti-Hindu. So that's got them in confusion, and I will give you some listing of facts in a minute. So while they've sort of sat back, if not wallowed in this confusion in terms of where I am, because I can't be seen to be pro-Muslim, I can't be seen to be too secular, I can't be offending the Hindus. So where am I, or who am I, what am I to do? So Aam Aadmi Party under Arvind Kejriwal has made that transition. They have now moved over to the side of the Hindu discourse. I am not saying Hindutva, soft or hard. I am not saying Hindus, the Hindu discourse with a great deal of clarity. And you've seen this clarity in their actions again in the past 3 years. So see, on Shaheen Bagh, they were totally quiet. From Shaheen Bagh, you can come right now to the Bilkis Bano case, her rapists and murderers of her family being released and treated as they were. Again, the Kheda lashings which took place in public. You can see that Aam Aadmi Party's silence on these, silence on Shaheen Bagh, and generally Aam Aadmi Party's sort of switch towards being good Hindus has been very decisive and an act of great political clarity. You like it or not, but that is a fact right now. In Delhi, there was a plan to give pilgrimage subsidy or free pilgrimages to people, and various places were listed. Okay, Namka Vaste Ajmer Sharif was also listed, but basically these pilgrimage subsidies or freebies were for Hindu community. Similarly now Kejriwal, in the past he's made some strong, if not sarcastic comments about Ram temple, saying that look, how can you build this temple on the ruins of a mosque that you had destroyed illegally. But in his Gujarat campaign now, he's promising people free pilgrimages to Ram temple in Ayodhya. So once again, the switch is made. Again, see some of the major things that have happened in National Parliament in the past 3 years. Now, the first thing that came up was the Triple Talaq Bill. On Triple Talaq Bill, opposition parties made some noise saying that you are now bringing in without much discussion. They should go to select committee. Congress party said let it go to select committee, etc., etc. It was passed. It was steamrolled or railroaded. But the fact is that opposition parties, at least some of them, so-called secular parties, made a pretense of opposing it, of saying that this was being done in too much of a hurry. A week later, Article 370 came up. The changes on Article 370 on 5th of August 2019, that stunned the secular opposition parties because they knew that voting against this was going to be suicidal, because going against those amendments would not just have gone against Hindu public opinion, but also against the nationalistic public opinion. So most of them were silent, some voted for it also, some walked out. So Aam Aadmi Party, for example, voted for it, as did some other parties, some of the smaller parties. Others made some noise, walked out, etc., etc. So that was a moment of truth when most anti-BJP political parties decided that their discourse on secularism has to change. Their discourse on secularism had to become much more Hindu. That is where Aam Aadmi Party has done it with great clarity. Now many other issues have cropped up since then. See the Sabrimala temple entry issue. Now Sabrimala temple entry, Supreme Court gave an order saying that women below the age of 50 should be allowed to go to Sabrimala. Even the left front government in Kerala has not dared to implement that order. And Congress party, initially Rahul Gandhi said, no, this is good Supreme Court order, this should be implemented. Then he pulled back. When his own state unit, party state unit, opposed the Supreme Court judgment, he said this was his personal opinion. And no other national political party has spoken against it. So triple talaq, Article 370, Ram temple in Ayodhya, everybody is welcomed. In fact, some parties are bending over backwards to make contributions to it. So this makes a bunch of larger points. So the first larger point is that if you see the RSS agenda, if you see the Hindutva agenda of the RSS, there were three pillars to it. Number one, Ram temple in Ayodhya. Number two, removal of Article 370. And number three, uniform civil code. These were the three issues that Vajpayee said when he took over power that he was postponing. He said, look, for this we need our majority. We'll not do these are contentious issues. We are postponing them. Modi has now delivered on all three, which is all right, good point. But the important thing is most of his opposition has also fallen in line. So now none of the opposition parties is going to court challenging any of these decisions publicly in political campaigns, seeking votes in opposition to these decisions, or even launching judicial challenges. You might ask me, how come you are saying that universal civil code has been implemented? Because it hasn't been. But see what has happened. If you break down the RSS's issue or demand of universal civil code, what are the 3 or 4 things that bothered them? What bothered them was not religious practices of various faiths. Bothers them is only some practices in Islam. We must speak the truth, which is what I am doing right now. And these practices are triple talaq, gone now. 2 more, polygamy and age of marriage. Now, age of marriage is again an issue which has come up in Supreme Court, which is that if the minimum age of marriage is 18 and 21, under our national uniform law, then can people from a particular faith, particularly women, be exempted from that law, which means they can be married at an age younger than your universal age of marriage. So these are the 3 things that bother the RSS. I'm quite sure in the course of time, in the next few months, you will see some activity either on polygamy or on age of marriage, or both. If those happen, then RSS has fully achieved its purpose on universal civil code, etc. Beyond that, they won't push it as well. Because beyond that, if you push it, then you get into finer issues, including issues that bother the Hindus, which is like, are you going to have a universal civil code in India whereby Hindus are going to lose their HUF benefits, that is Hindu undivided family? And by the way, those benefits are also extended to Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, etc. Are you going to deprive yourselves of those, or are you then also going to extend those to Christians and Muslims? And there will be other issues. So I believe that if these 3 are done, then RSS's purpose is achieved. So that is the first larger point that is today settled. That everybody now is talking the same ideological language in different tones. So you can say that this is many shades of saffron, but the dominating ideology of the country now is saffron. Now, this also tells us something about national politics, that unlike, say, the politics in the older democracies like the US, Britain, etc., where distinct ideologies continue for a long time, in India, the dominant political party, the agenda-setting party of the day in the country, then sets the agenda for everybody. When Congress was the dominant party, then everybody's ideology became socialism. So when a few years after Jansangh had been merged into Janata, it sort of was resurrected as the BJP. Even Vajpayee said that their economic ideology would be like Gandhian socialism. So because Congress was dominant, socialism became a kind of shared ideology of everybody. Again, different parties had a different view of socialism. So Janata Party government that came into power in 1977, they did some things that Mrs. Gandhi would not have done, including in some areas what could then be described as economic reform. We might be very surprised if I mention that right now, because our memories of that period are George Fernandez and that government driving Coke and IBM out. But the fact is that Morarji Desai himself was not somebody who believed in such strong state controls of the economy as Indira Gandhi did. And some loosening did take place, but everything happened in the name of socialism. So this was socialism of another flavor and another shade. In that era, in the Congress era or epoch, the only party of the genuine economic right, that was the Swatantra Party. That died by 1971 and was never resurrected. Why? Because even the opposition groups or coalitions that it became part of, even there it felt itself alienated. And the other parties in the anti-Congress groups or anti-Indira groups who formed these coalitions were not comfortable with Swatantra Party because they were seen as people speaking for the rich, like the conservatives in Britain and like the Republicans in America. So for almost the first 50-60 years after independence, India's agenda setting party was the Congress Party. Even after its lost majority and failed to win again, the dominating ideology was socialism and all the others worked around it. And then the BJP brought in the new binary, which was Hindutva. Now that BJP has become the agenda setting national party, that binary is also disappearing as even anti-BJP forces, at least on this issue, are coming closer to the BJP and other binaries are being found. And that's where the Revdi culture debate comes in, because Arvind Kejriwal, as we can see, has been trying to reset the terms of trade now. What he's trying to say is that, look, forget these ideologies, because all of us are Hindu, all of us like Hinduism. In fact, whatever you do for Hindus, I will do even more. If you build a temple for a god, I will print pictures of gods on your currency notes, right? So it's going on like that. So he's saying he's now trying to shift his politics to a purely transactional space, which means I give you something, you give me your vote. So I give you free power, free water, free education, free healthcare, etc., etc. Kitna free hai, kitna milta hai, that's besides the point. But you vote for me. And that is where, concerned about this, Narendra Modi attacked him by calling it Revdi culture. But the fact is, in politics, ideology is very important. In democratic politics, ideology is very important. You know what? We very often keep saying, we make that comparison and we say, think absolutes, think percentages. So applying very loosely that principle to political analysis, think ideologies and think political power. So ideology is like the absolute, political power is like percentage. So every party has an ideology. That ideology gives you a percentage of the vote. If your percentage is the highest, you get power. If ideology ceases to be that deciding factor, then it becomes very transactional. Then it's a case of, now you're giving me a rebdi, I will give you a laddu, right? Or you're giving me Mysore pak, I'm giving you Rasgulla, I'm giving you a petha, I'm giving you Puran Poli. You can choose your own mithai. So you can then make it completely transactional. That is where India's politics is right now, because the larger ideological question seems to have been thrown in big confusion, if not in insignificance. So while Rahul Gandhi carries out his march for Bharat Jodo, for uniting India, and says, I speak against hate, even his party, nobody senior in his party, has had the courage to go and put his arm round Bilkis Bano's family and go and sit with the families of those thrashed in public, lashed in public by Gujarat police in Kheda to say, look, we are also with you. Now, in our political history, we also have examples of political parties trying to fight religiosity with religiosity, as Gyani Zail Singh did in Punjab. But we know that that did not end well. How this one ends, we will see. But the fact is that from all indications right now, it looks like that almost all of India's politics, leave out the left parties, but they don't count for very much right now. All of India's politics now is run in various shades of saffron.